Let's do a Dave Meltzer's dumb scroll moment of the week. So this guy says, "Hi, Dave. Good day, Dave. Can you settle our group discussion? Was talking about Luthez." Okay, we're not going to read that. Dave, we're just scrolling his feed right now because you guys are saying he melted down. Dave, what's the one thing in your opinion Tony Khan could do in AEW that would make the company hot? Dave says it's doing better, but I discuss this stuff in the Observer on audio every single week, especially on Friday shows. There is no one thing. Right. Oh my God, Dave, that's why it should be easy to name one because there's a lot of things he should do. You know, if you're to name one, what is it? Why? I get it, promoting your show, but you just come across like a schmarmy prick and you won't name one. Like you just won't do it because you refuse to do it. You'd rather just say, well, there's many things, Brian. So this guy says, Uncle Dave got triggered by the truth. Meltzer says, I'm the single last person getting triggered about anything to do with wrestling. Bro, watch him. Look how many tweets he licks off. I'm the last guy to get triggered, Brian. Look how many tweets he's about to lick off. Dave, are there any myths in wrestling that... Okay. Whereas Paragon gets on TV every week. Okay, I just want him to... So listen to this. Whereas Paragon gets on TV every week and fans really don't care about them like that, but Tony insists on putting his head down and charging forward with them, which pisses fans off. Meltzer says, I'm not a fan of them in the main event on TV. That's one thing WWE does better is their main events are the actual main events. Yeah, Dave, exactly. So then the criticism of Tony's up and he's not a good booker, and you're like, but he's Booker of the Year. You just said that Tony Khan doesn't even book his main events as main events. How ass backwards is that? How good of a booker? What the Dave? So how dare you present actual facts, Alfred? Because Alfred Kunua responds as well, which triggers Dave. I'm not triggered. Look at him triggered. Growing cable audience year over year is incorrect, as I pointed out, but if you include all viewership, it is still up. Wrong, Dave. You don't know what all the viewership is, Dave, as you've admitted. You goddamn liar! Dave, you said you don't know what it is, so, and we know it's not the numbers you and Bethel tried to lie about, so you're just literally lying right here, okay? So it's still the one inaccurate thing, and the cable audience is up from Q4 of 2024, which didn't have Max, so they're way up now. How are they up from Q4, Dave? Oh, my God. Dave, show a screen grab. We're about to bake his ass in the actual segment. Holy... So this guy says, just curious, is there any way to actually tell how many watch on Max, or is it pure speculation? The only news story is by BJ Bethel. No, you... We'll rule you. Oh, my God. See? Dave won't even back up the BJ Bethel story. He won't even corroborate, well, 500,000's too high. Okay, but BJ said you corroborated it, though, and then you're still citing his study, Dave. This is real bad, man. I wrote extensively on it at the time. Pure speculation would be a number that isn't what he reported, but in fact, I have reasons to have qualms with that number based on WWE numbers being so much lower than expected. Streaming on Netflix makes it about WWE. So because WWE is lower, which again, you can't prove it all, you have qualms with the number that BJ claims you corroborated that he wrote in his report, and you say the only news story is by BJ. But that's a fake number. So is that really a news story? Dave is so full of shit. And look at 7.4K impressions, 4 likes, man. He's falling off and he has to block everybody because he's cooked, man. He's cooked. He's finished. He's toast. People won't get behind this anymore. Holy shit. And look, I'm not triggered. Look at every minute he's licking off a tweet. This is 2 hours ago. So this guy says, something I've noticed is every booker seems to have their blonde spots and critiques. Do you think it's possible for, while not perfect, a booker that puts focus on almost every storyline, and has there been one? No booker is perfect, and most booker criticism I've seen is self-centered criticism and not business-related criticism. Dave, your criticisms of WWE and Tony Khan, and your lack thereof when it comes to Tony, is personal and self-centered criticism. You're projecting right now. And of course, no booker's perfect because no human being's perfect. Stop spurging out. Crazy rumor today that TKO might unload WWE. What do you assume WWE would get in a true open market? I mean, whatever. It's a good question. Meltzer says, why would they do so? Thank God. It would greatly decrease the UFC profit margin and also decrease the WWE margin. I have heard a credible explanation. Yeah, thank God, Dave, for actually saying something sensible there for once. See, I give people their due. Viewers down significantly, average viewer, but he can't bullshit when it comes to UFC because real journalists will go, Dave, you're talking shit. That's why he can't actually do that. Viewers down significantly, average viewers per month. January 628, February 586. We've gone over all that. Meltzer says, I've already pointed this out. He was incorrect. Also, the significance of this is only valid with max numbers factored in. He never factors in global Netflix numbers, though. There have been numbers out. You can speculate they aren't accurate, but they have been reported. No, Dave, this is the numbers out there. Ready, Dave? From BJ Bethel, who says you corroborated this, 500,000, which isn't true. That's been debunked. Then there's the numbers you can deduce from what Zaslav said, which means AEW, the way I understand it, gets 250,000 viewers on everything they do, live and app and weekly, like their back catalog and everything. And the max numbers that they put out stating that their highest NBA game, Lakers Mavericks, was like 100 and whatever thousand. So those are the numbers we can go with. I'm going to trust Zaslav and WBD Laker numbers and not your faker numbers, dude. There's numbers that have been out, the ones you made up, that you and BJ made up. Dave, this is really wrong. WWE shareholders didn't get crashed. They got stock, which can be exchanged for cash. Vince has exchanged his TKO stock for billions. Saying that cash didn't change hands is like saying the cash didn't change hands because I wrote a check. Exactly. See, like this is a motherfucker who's just like, dude, no, you don't know what you're talking about. And Dave says they didn't get cash unless they sell, just like they didn't get cash when they were WWE shareholders unless they sold. Endeavor did not pay $9 billion to stockholders of WWE. They did a stock exchange for almost no cash. Another company could have spent cash to buy it as opposed to a very little cash merger. This guy says, get off his dick. If he was Booker of the Year, he would never put that belt on Moxley. Business has been up with Moxley as champ, and he's also anchored the best-rated shows and biggest video numbers. Tops also in searches, and PPV is up as well. Dave.
Liar! Tell us what you know, you goddamn liar!
The pay-per-views are only quote-unquote up in Dave's mind because of the magical 30% that he adds, which we've covered here extensively on this show. So he's making that up. Also, the social media numbers, here's the thing. When you nitpick social media videos, yes, your world champion should be getting the most views. It doesn't matter who it is. It should be getting the most fucking views out of all your YouTube. Right? But really look at what those numbers are compared to like Chris Van Vliet's numbers, bro. That's all you have to look at. Okay. The top searches. He's the world champ. So it should be. He's the most, he's the active guy in the main events. He fucking should be. But the attendances are down. And then just stating when the viewership is down 100,000 year over year, and then you're just inventing. So Dave is stating that it's more than 100,000. It's got to be like 200,000 or more watching on Max every show, because that's the only way it could be up. You guys know what I mean? Because if you lose 100,000 from last year, so what Dave is saying is that at least 100,000 or more are watching on fucking Max. No, you're just inventing that. That's the point. That's the point everyone's trying to make. So no, business isn't up under Mox. Even you look at the London numbers, they just passed like 11K people. Okay, well, you guys pretended you did 81,000 there before. So how's that business being up? This guy says, yeah, there are numbers out, not by WBD, not by any entertainment reporters. Not even Tony Khan has said they're correct. Khan has said they were consistent with what he's heard. Source was WBD, and Bethel is a real news reporter. No, he's not, because you corroborated the number. The source was a guy from WBD So then Evil Dose is a source because he had a WBD source as well, tweeting and blue skying shit and emailing them or whatever. And that's what Bethel's claiming, was a WBD person on Blue Sky said, yeah, this is what the numbers are. And Cod said they were consistent with what he's heard. Well, he just lied, bold-faced lied on television, on Yahoo Finance or whatever, on the internet. This is all just made up. Ratings are down since he became champion in the quarters when he's on hemorrhage viewers. His storyline is nonsensical. He looks like shit and his work is worse. Sorry, I have to let you go. You are now just making things up. Tell me how many viewers WrestleMania had on Peacock in the U.S. and Max outside the U.S. You think it's less than 500,000? Why is Peacock sitting on that news? Nick's sitting on that news. Take it from someone who taught classes with Stanford Sports Business MBA students. Streaming numbers in the U.S., unless they are in the millions, are never reported. Then why did Max report the NBA game that did millions on the simulcast and then say it did 185,000 or whatever on just the sports or whatever? They did report that. And you're right that it's over millions, but for a simulcast. So when you guys are claiming they're doing 1 million, that's the point, Dave. They're not doing millions of viewers like these dumb fuck sickos are trying to say, that you galvanized and you gave them faulty information for them to then go regurgitate it and add 30% and shit. That's what you did, bro. That's why people are coming at you with this argument. Now you're trying to throw your hands up and go, whoa, well, they only reported if it's in the millions. Yes. So if AEW is doing over 1 million simulcast, like these dumb fuck sickos are claiming, so you just refuted the sickos. Thank you. There you go, sickos. You're fucking Uncle Dave right there. He just owns you all. If they were doing over 1 million in simulcast, why the fuck wouldn't they report that? Because they're not doing that, okay? But they're not doing what you think either. Or Dave's sort of alluding here that they're still doing over 1 million is the gross part. Well, it's still over 1 million. Other places don't tout over 1 million. When they do, bro, and WBD themselves have done it. So you're like, why doesn't everyone? I don't know, but Max has done it, so why don't they do it again? Strange, Dave. It's just about staying consistent. What does the UFC do every Saturday? Not that good lately. Don't know if you're not. You don't know because your finger's just not on the pulse, Dave. You don't even know how Google Trends work. Sorry, but you were whiffed on this one. TKO's not released any of this, nor has Peacock. TKO is a public company. Max said last week sports weren't a driver. Exactly. Sports aren't a driver, and they've released numbers, Dave. So just there you go. That's what it is right there. We're not talking about what about WWE? I don't give a fuck about what TKO and WWE do in this instance. I'm talking about Max and AEW and what they've done in the past for Lakers Mavericks games and what they don't do for fucking AEW. Is that so hard to understand? ESPN averaged 15 million for Monday Night Football in 2024. They had an ESPN Plus game that drew 1.8 million or 12%. 30%? I mean, if it's 20, I think it's likely 20, but if it's like 30, that's what Dave tried to tell all these dumb fucks. Look, on ESPN Plus for Monday Night Football, NFL does about 12% of an average TV audience. Well, AEW does about that too. Like, this is what he's peddled out there. And then he wants to go, well, I mean, it could be true. And look, this guy pulled numbers. Why don't they post numbers? Well, he just pulled some right there. It would make sense to assume Dynamite's max number is less than 10% of normal cable viewership. I'd be shocked if 60,000. Me too, right there. That's what I've deduced too. Can't be more than 10, Dave, because now we're talking, you're starting to fuck around with real sports now. It's just that simple. That's all. You don't need all the other stuff, all the other noise. You just need that right there. Phil, don't miss. I come to you guys straight. This guy right here, Travis Creans or whatever the fuck your name is, shout you out. Amazing. Amazing tweet. That's all it boils down to. Okay, let's say there's about 600,000 watch Dynamite. I'll give them 10%, 600,000. I'll even give them 100,000, maybe like right underneath that, even 80,000. I said, I'll get, we'll give them 30 to 80,000. I think I made a tweet of that. But once you start talking like 100,000, 90 to 100, you're talking real sports, dog. You're not doing that. You leave out it was head to head with a far bigger game. Why did you do that? Dave, you want to talk about all the shit you leave out, buddy? Talked about it on Monday. Okay, so he's asking you right now. Why don't you talk about it? Mario CK says overall TV is down, but popular live sports are still getting eyeballs. There's nothing about AEW's trajectory that supports the claims that they're doing better numbers than the NBA on streaming. Boom. This is where Dave's just got in a corner. Nobody has ever suggested that, and no NBA numbers have ever released on Max. Yes. Oh my God. We're Switchblade. Yeah. Dave, you don't know because you blocked everybody who posts those fucking numbers.
Bonus.
You block everybody who posts them. Okay?
Stupid idiot.
So now you're caught up. He's so caught up. They're feeling it. Caught up. Where's Switchblade at? He'll just show them to you. This guy says, and that's irrelevant to you, Clay. Remember, Dave's like, I'm not triggered. He's arguing for hours with people live on PWT. And that's irrelevant to you claiming Tony was talking about viewers that you can't prove. It's lazy whataboutism. It would be up with half of the reported number, even if I'm suspicious about the total. And the report was detailed. If you read it, I am hardly, actually suspicious of it, Brian. Dave, no one cares that you're suspicious because you're an idiot. You're like Elmer Fudd. And that's irrelevant to you claiming Tony was talking about viewers. He says, at this point, I've answered all your questions and you haven't been able to answer any counters. Why do you care what Jimmy Bracken? No offense, Jimmy Bracken. Love you, bud. But like, you get it, right? Like, why would you even care about him answering your shit? There's live. See, it just updated live here, dude. Oh my God, Dave. So Arena Mexico, hello. He's just defending it. Jimmy Corderas is like, why call it a 14-man tag when it's obvious that making a tag is not necessary? Oh, yeah, never mind. Arena Mexico, hello. He is kind of right, though. Like, that's what they like over there. It's kind of went head-to-head. Baltimore versus Tampa started 45 minutes earlier than Dave. All polls, and many have been done, range, all had streaming at last year 40% of total viewers. Now he's pulling up 40%. The other difference, and a key one, is virtually every home with a TV can watch the Super Bowl on TV. He's arguing about the Super Bowl. It's like, well, we're talking about Max and AW, bro. Crazy. Fucking crazy madness, ladies and gentlemen. That is a Dave Meltzer's dumb moment of the week right there. Where the fuck is the flute? Here we go. And my word, I don't even know if, God, am I going to do this whole other one I had laid out here? So here's a throwback Dave Meltzer where he was bitching about work rate. This match was hopeless to begin with. Hogan and Undertaker wasn't ruined by booking, but the lack of work rate. This was in like 91. He's like crying about work rate. So Dave Meltzer tweets this out. Variety reported the Rainmaker having nothing to do with Okada. No shit.
Dummy. Yeah.
Debuts on USA at 8/5. So this is on the last show. I think it was the member show, whatever show it was. Become a member, 99 cents. You get access to the member show or become a patron. Over 100 exclusive videos on there as well. But Dave Meltzer him and Brian Alvarez were crying about SmackDown. It's going 3 hours all the way into July. And then a week later, 2 days later, Variety's like, no, they're not. They're going back to 2 hours. Or they were crying that it was going to remain 3 or whatever, right? But that would indicate SmackDown goes back to 2 hours that night. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Jesus Christ, how'd you come up with that one? You know what I mean? You have to fucking find a fortune cookie for that one, Dave? Jeez, man, he's really lost the plot over the last little while. And I'm here for it, you know? I reap the benefits of it. Anyways, moving along. So Meltzer said what? Responds and says, life in the fast lane. Again, Meltzer reveals that SmackDown is staying at 3 hours with no extra pay from US Network. Remember, he's saying, oh, there's no extra pay. And Brian's like, what? And then again, they trust fucking Meltzer like he's an insider. These numbers were reported. You mean the ones you made up? And then out of nowhere, Dave, oh, well, the Rainmaker, nothing to do with Okada, by the way. Like anybody even thought that was a thing. Turns out he's fucking wrong. And he was just spurging out about nothing and talking about no extra money for nothing. What a fucking idiot. Dave Meltzer doing good little shill work here says some systems will be taping Dynamite only through 10 p.m. on DVR. So make sure to check and see if it records the next 30 minutes. And to be on the safe side, 10 minutes after that, a fucking instructional on how to record this show. And this guy isn't getting paid. Like, if he's not getting paid, bro, it's more of a fucking L. You guys know what I mean? If he's not getting paid for this type of level of shilling, then it's like more embarrassing. I'll be more shocked if he's not, you know? The length of tonight's show is scheduled as 2:30, but they often do overruns. He's preparing people for an overrun. People call me a shill. Imagine if I tweeted that out about Raw. Holy fuck, man. And then Meltzer, like in the arguments, in the midst of the arguments we just read, but this guy says what Dave's saying is lies. And then Meltzer says, point one out, I'll help you. AEW Dynamite is not up on cable compared to the same period last year, but is up from Q4 2024 before Max. Other than that, point out anything misleading or incorrect. And then he says, that's what I was leading to, Dave. Like, that is, bro, you're trying to mislead people. Like, year over year, it's down. Q4, it's up. Okay. So far, thus far. But what about the years before? And then here's what Raj has to say, owning him. How is it up from Q4 2024 when Dynamite averaged a 0.19 in Q4 2024 in their normal time slot and averaged a 0.17 in Q1 2025? Not to mention, they said cable numbers were up year over year, not that they were up from the end of last year, Dave. And also, Dave, you're just magically adding streaming, and we're not playing that fucking game with you, or else add how many people watch NXT worldwide on Netflix. It's destroying Dynamite, bro. It's craziness. And then Dave Meltzer saying very calmly short-circuiting people's brains about this Tony Khan lie. Meanwhile, it's a lie. Meanwhile, Dave, you're the one who makes the exact arguments Tony is refuting, and now you're being a fucking douchebag about it. Like, Dave is the one saying, well, cable's down because more people are streaming. And then you have the audacity to be this fucking ignorant and this rude to people when you were glitching out on the last show or on the other show, literally glitching out in Skynet like awful wrestling. Okay, like the lawnmower man. And you were arguing with fucking Grok, bro. So you can't talk about short-circuiting. You've already done that. And you just argued with all those fucking marks on your timeline that we just covered for 2 hours instead of enjoying the CMLL show. You were arguing the whole time on Twitter. How can you even rate it highly? You're going to give everything 12 stars. Meanwhile, you didn't even watch it. So Meltzer melts down on useless positivity. This guy says, I don't defend anyone. So he's making fun of Dave Meltzer. I don't defend anyone, least of all him, Tony Khan, unless it's something factually incorrect. Freudian slip, you'll only defend Tony when he lies. And Dave says, sorry, Tony Khan ruined your life by creating a non-WWE company and not failing like you spent 6 years insisting. What's not failing, Dave? What's success, Dave? And again, he's just inventing that and applying it to this guy's life without actually knowing anything about this person. That's what a sicko does, Dave. You're a clown. If you had listened to me, you'd have read my article in November 2019 looking at the cable landscape in AEW, and you'd have at least not gone in denial for so long or be made every week. Mad every week. Nobody's mad, bro. You're mad, Dave. You've literally gone mad. He's in denial over the ratings. And when Collision gets canceled and they add a third hour, just what's going to happen? So I got sent this by Meltzer Said What, who's like, dude, just remember this. Like, here's Dave freestyling fake max viewing numbers out of thin air. Here's where he invented the shit, right? We covered this back in the day. We've covered it a couple times.
Especially in Agent Report, I absolutely was alarmed. And I mean, if it cuts in half again, if it goes from, whatever these numbers are now, and it cuts in half like it did in Agent Report from last year, unless I get some good max numbers, I would say this isn't good. But if it just slowly dwindles down, I'm going to say that it's exactly what I expect. Slow. People are going to switch to max, and that's fine. You're not losing.
So just, hey, yeah, that's fine. He just already put the built-in excuse. Yeah, the less people who watch, it's not because year over year over year they're losing 100,000 people every year since this shit started. More than that even. But it's because they're all just floating over to max. And now they're back up over 1 million, guys. 1.2 million again, like when they started. What an asshole. And then again, we went over this clip. It's just
Collision number overall, all things considered, has to be considered successful, especially with that lineup, because it was not, it wasn't like the lineup like today's show where you had a pretty good lineup. And, if the number's up, you could go, well, look, they put a world title match on TV and they had a lot of long, good matches. So if it's up, and again, with the Collision thing and also with the Dynamite thing, we're still not getting the full story, because without the max numbers, I like, again, the older viewers watching Collision, it was, it tells me that the younger, there probably were a lot of younger viewers.
See, there probably were a lot of younger viewers.
They probably were watching on Max.
And they were probably watching on Max, even though the key demo's dying down. But then Meltzer goes, a spike in the key demo after the NBA game. But then he takes credit for AEW. Their overall average, they maintained it through this and all this shit. He doesn't realize people don't switch their TVs off and shit. It's craziness, man. It's crazy. Or like bars that just leave the shit on after the fucking thing's over because there's no other games. So fuck it, this wrestling show's live. He doesn't account for any of that. Oh, yeah, all the young people who didn't tune in, they were just on Max, I assume. He just makes the shit up, man, as he goes. So Alfred Kunawa drops a bomb here. He goes, please enjoy and study the simple math of AEW Dynamite's average year-over-year viewership on cable since 2022. So 2022, they were at 961,000. The next year, they were at 858,000, down 10.8%. 2024 is 698,000, down 18.7%. 2025, 626,000, down 10.3%. And Dave wants us to believe that what is my quick maths here? Just over 40% of people, or 40% of people, fucking roughly all are tuning back in on Max now or whatever. 40%. That's what Dave's trying to tell us, right? 10.8, right? That's 18, so that's 28, 38, 7 plus 3. You guys get what I'm saying? 39.8% or whatever the fuck. Are you mean to tell me, Dave, that all tuned back 40%, about 30% are watching? Or are you just inventing that, bro? Or is it like roughly maybe like 8% if they're lucky is more like the number? So Dave Meltzer had this to say about Goldberg, and he just, again, freaks out about Goldberg. Bill looked old. He looked small, too, next to Gunther. Bill was always this big powerhouse guy. I've met Bill many times, and Bill's roughly, when Bill was younger, he would be roughly the same height as Gunther. And he won't call him Goldberg. He just, Bill. I met him several times, Bill. I'd say both 6'2", 6'3", and he looked a lot smaller than Gunther next to him. Bill's 58. He's had shoulder problems for a long time. I would say at least 10 years, and shoulder injuries are a total bitch to have. I went through that forever and ever. A lot of wrestlers have that. A lot of people who do a lot of heavy lifting when they get older have that. That's what pretty much, yeah, I do. I feel that too. That's what pretty much does in most of your heavy lifters is their shoulders goes is what he meant to say, but it says does here. Typo. The bodybuilders, I'm dyslexic. This motherfucker can't spell and everything like that. And it's just too painful to train. Okay. And to be the old Bill Goldberg at 58, it's next to impossible anyway, no matter what you do, but it probably requires some pretty heavy lifting. And I doubt he can do that now with bad shoulders and everything. Good luck to him. It's his farewell, but I really did notice. I think for one day it'll be fine. I don't think if the match will be fine. I don't know if the match will be fine, rather. I'm not worried about Gunther hurting Bill, but I'm worried about Bill absolutely, getting too fired up and trying to do more than he can do, figuring it's his last match and everything. But the thing is, for Bill to be Bill, he's got to do power shit. What else has he got? He's got the hard spear and the jackhammer, and he has to do both, right? It's his last match. He has to do it. So we'll see. Hopefully it all works out. Yeah, I agree. Dave's going to shit all over this and give it like 2 fucking stars. And maybe that's a smart Meltzer moment of the week, actually, there, ladies and gentlemen. And that was Dave Meltzer's dumb, extra long, dumb moment of the week, I guess. Some smart action in there, too. We give credit where it's due.